So on my last video, we had a quick look at combustion chambers and the differences in cylinder heads and the differences in casting and how that can vary the compression from cylinder to cylinder and how they're not quite so even. But what I've done since then, if we go to our cylinder heads, I've cut all the seats on all the inlets and all the exhausts, and I've fitted the new valves. And obviously we can't check the CCs or the combustion chamber volumes accurately without doing all those things first. So I've done 5 of the 6 cylinders, and as you can see, we've got 36.5, 36.6, 36.7, which are quite close. They're only sort of a point each apart. But over on this cylinder head, we've started quite a bit lower. 36.2, 36.3, and if it follows the trend of the other cylinder head with our difference in our castings here, and that's why we're seeing a bigger number here. We've got a bit of volume lost here, whereas in this chamber that volume is, or that little void is filled. This one it's a hollow, and this one it's even more hollow again. So that's going to, obviously accept a bit more volume, and the compression's going to be lower on there. So all I've got on these valves is a little bit of rubber grease, which is obviously quite waterproof. I don't bother putting the springs on, it's too time consuming for doing a lot of checking. Quite often we'll check the volume, then we will remove everything out, we'll cut the seats a bit lower and drop them down depending on how fussy we get. And it's always a compromise. By dropping the valves into the head, you could be doing that at the detriment of flow and power potential, but things have to be weighed up, and quite often a more consistent compression ratio per cylinder in this sort of a category can be advantageous, but it's up to each individual and each engine builder to decipher that for themselves. At the moment, what I'm doing is, mainly doing this for the rule book, to make sure that we've got a legal engine. We don't want to have a compression on one cylinder that's 9.6 and illegal, and compression on another cylinder that's 9.4 and quite fine. So anyway, we put our perspex on here, and again I've just got a little bit of rubber grease around the edge of the chamber. This perspex needs to be dead flat. If it's got a curve in it, you're going to get inaccurate results. The thicker the better generally. We've got a hole here for pouring the fluid into from the burette, and I run a little hole over this side to let the air out. Each engine builder's going to do things their own different way. Now if you come up to the burette here, you can see that we've got it full of liquid almost to the top, and what I do is I drain some out until our liquid comes down onto the 0 point. Okay, so that's pretty much 0. Get it as close as we can, bang on the 0. And then we very carefully put the point down into our fill port. And we fill it with fluid. There is a burette stand you can get for doing this, which makes it easier, but for the purpose of the video and speed, I'm going to do it like this and hope that I don't stuff it. I'm just going to slow down here, okay. Just drop by drop. Sometimes give it a little bit of a tap to agitate the air bubble to the entry. Try not to spill a drop. Okay, that's perfect. Perfectly filled. And if you look at our graduation here, okay, we've got 36.3. It's a bit difficult to see there. If I pull it over this way a bit. There we go. So we've got 36.3. Okay. So it's the same as the previous chamber. Just tip the rest of that out. So we write that down there, 36.3. I expected that to be 36.4, going on the trend of the others. Now, what does that all mean? It looks like just a number, but what does that mean in terms of our compression ratio? If we go over to our compression ratio calculator, I'm going to have a look at a few different scenarios. So what we've got in here is our standard or V6 bore, 96.52, standard stroke of 86.36. Now everyone sort of should know what their stroke is. It needs to at least be checked. Number of cylinders, no big deal. Then we come down to our chamber CCs in the cylinder head. Now the one that we've just done was 36.2. Okay, and if we were using, for example, a VP style piston, which is a 25cc dish, or dish in the piston, and we have a 1mm thick head gasket, which is quite common, and the piston is 1mm down the bore, or 40 thou, you can see that we will have a compression ratio of 9.2 to 1. All right, which is, we're fairly safe. Okay, but if we were to deck this block, or your block was decked, okay, if it was decked at 0, or piston was flush with the top, and we recalculate that, our compression ratio has now gone up to 10.22 to 1. Okay, so you can see very quickly that the whole picture can change. Let's leave our 0 deck, but let's go to a VR style piston, which doesn't have a 25cc dish. We have a 35cc dish. Recalculate. So we're back down to 9 to 1 now, because the piston has a bigger dish. So we're squeezing the air or the sweat volume into a larger space now. So there's not so much compression. So all of a sudden that opens a whole heap of doors and opportunity, and different. It gives us more choices basically in building the engine. So from here we could maybe go from a standard bore. Let's go a mil oversize, 40 thou over. So let's go 1mm oversized piston. Okay, head back over here. So we're still only with 40 thou oversized piston, which increases our engine volume, or our engine capacity. It brings it back up to 9.22 to 1. And if we wanted to skim a little bit more off this cylinder head, let's say we want to go to 35.7. Brings our compression up to 9.27, close to 9.3. Now keep in mind that the more you use the engine, the more carbon build-up you're going to get on your piston and inside your combustion chamber, and the higher your compression's going to come up when you get checked. So if you do a season, or some people 2 seasons without pulling it apart and decarboning, then you've got to leave a little bit probably up your sleeve in case. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we need to look for with heads. So in most cases I would go for the larger size combustion chambers, which gives you more option, and the larger piston, and nearly everyone will be using the VR piston anyway. So it allows us to, like if you went to a different valve size, for example, which had a thicker head or a taller head, that would give us less volume in the chamber, and our compression would go up. As the valve seats wear over time and they drop into the cylinder head, you're going to lose compression. So, it just needs to be taken into consideration. With this particular pair of heads, our smallest chamber is 36.2, our largest chamber is 36.7, which is 0.5 of a cc difference. So this engine would be a little bit of a compromise, because if we wanted to deck the block, okay, and get the piston closer to the top, and make this cylinder our highest one, because you've got to have your highest compression no more than 9.5. it means that our other 5 cylinders are going to be under 9.5, even this one, if this one's on 9.5. So you are compromising the power of 5 cylinders for 1 cylinder. But we're talking about small discrepancies, and we can't forget what this category is about. But there is, different budgets will suit different builds, and these are the types of things that, we need to look at if you're looking for every last bit of performance.